the guests that are with you. You say here, Minister, that BIM works closely with the industry and all of the recognised representative groups actively supporting the development of the sector as a whole and the inshore fleet in particular. There has been no meeting, Minister, or contact with members of the NIFA regarding the implementation of the inshore strategy to this day. Exactly 1 week after the NIFA appeared on the joint committee here, a meeting was held with BIM. I think that was around 1 week, 24th of January was the meeting they had here. A meeting was held with BIM in their head office in Dublin. There has been no further meeting or updates from BIM since that meeting on the 31st of January. So I can't see how they're working closely if they're not have met anyone or spoke to anyone since the 31st of January, Minister. Have you any comments on that, Minister?
Well, listen, just in terms of some of the details I have here, my note in relation to in relation to meetings. So the Department and BIM have met with inshore representatives on 29 occasions over the period of the strategy, Deputy Collins. I met with them recently, myself, NIF and NIFA and IMRO, the Irish Island Marine Resource Organisation, on the 18th of April recently. The Department also met separately with NIF on 2 occasions to date in 2024, and in addition online with NIF and NIFA and IMRO on the 7th of May 2024. I'm not sure when the last meeting between I don't have detail here in terms of when the last meeting between BIM and NIFA were, Deputy Collins.
Oh, that's, that detail. In fairness, I won't question that. If you say the Department met, that's good enough, but BIM haven't met. And BIM, you have a statement here saying BIM works closely with the industry and all the recognised representative groups, actively support development, the sector and the inshore people. You'd expect that a meeting would take place since the 31st of January if they were actively communicating with the NIFE, one of the main inshore organisations, Minister. So I think that statement is contradictory. Minister, as you're aware, every inshore crewman in Ireland have faced unprecedented hardships since COVID-19 to various market collapses with losses of at least 10,000 each since last November. Things have gotten much worse, with several processes closing their doors. When are you planning on giving financial aid to the inshore sector as they are struggling to keep their heads above water?
Yeah, I've had a number of meetings with them. It has been a very challenging time, Deputy Collins. This year, and particularly in relation to markets, and obviously over the last couple of years, there was wider challenges in the sector with regard to, as a result of Brexit. So last year and the year before, I would have run Brexit business adjustment schemes with significant funding. It was up to about €4,500 for boats over 12 metre and 2,700 for those under 12 metre. So listen, I've had a number of meetings with them this year to discuss the particular challenges that are there. And I'm in the process of finalising, so I expect shortly to be able to make an announcement in relation to a scheme which will support them this year. Obviously, listen, we can't make the market issues go away. They are there. Some of the signs on the horizon and some of the information I have is that, over the months ahead, it looks like it may improve, but obviously that remains to be seen. But I have, in recognition of the challenge they're facing, been working with my team in relation to a potential support scheme. So that's something I hope to make an announcement on over the next 2 to 3 weeks, Deputy Collins.
2 to 3 weeks. I appreciate that because some of them are struggling severely, Minister, and mortgages to be paid and banks knocking on the door, and they can't. There's a serious worry there. The rural independents brought before the Dáil a motion on the 25th of January 2023 regarding inshore fishing. They asked for a figure of 12 million at the time because that was the figure that was well researched. And to this day, only 3.5 million was given to the inshore sector. The inshore sector now find themselves in a far worse predicament with the pollock fishery also closing. The government at that time voted in favour of the 12 million. With the state of the inshore fishing sector now compared to January 2023, that 12 million wouldn't be anywhere close to a figure which would help. So are we looking at a figure that, when you agreed to 12 million at the time, 3.5 million seems to be only given. Are you willing to, when you agree to a motion, are you willing to carry out what the motion said? 12 million?
Yeah, well, listen, as you know, Deputy Collins, if you were to add up all of the motions that come before the Dáil and private members over the course of a year, you'd be doubling your national budget, and it's obviously we have thankfully managed the state's finance as well the last period of time, but it is at budget time, and it's the choices that you make in relation to that decides what funding might be available. But that's not until next October. But I am looking at the options available, because I recognise the need for short-term support for the inshore sector in the short term here. So I have been looking at options in terms of how I can facilitate that, and that's what I'm finalising the detail of at the moment. We would have worked closely with the sector, and obviously as part of the seafood task force, the inshore sector would have sat in that, as well as all other representative sectors of the industry too, and would have come forward with, I think it was 16 proposals for schemes across the sector, one of those being for the business adjustment scheme for the inshore sector, which I would have delivered all the other schemes too. But as I say, I am making final preparations in relation to a scheme for this year, Deputy Collins.
Okay, and I respect you're right in saying that you probably have to double your budget if everybody's requests were, given into, but you agree to that motion of 12 million. So if you agree to a motion, if you disagree, you're being honest and straight and saying, well, that money can't, and you can't afford it, but you obviously agree to that motion, and you've fallen back and not given the money. Celtic Sea Herring, NIFA asked for a seat on the Celtic Sea Herring Committee, as they have members involved in the fishery on the 13th of February 2023. The Minister said he is still considering. Can you confirm today if they have a seat on the Celtic Sea Herring Committee?
Yeah, that's something I'm considering, Deputy Collins. They've been in touch with me, and I expect to respond to them shortly on that. It's something I'm considering.
Are you considering positively or negatively?
Well, listen, I'll tell them first.
Okay.
But
okay.
I take on board your representations in relation to it as well.
I appreciate it. Minister, have you acquired any bluefin tuna quota for this year?
We don't have a national. It's something I've been pressing at EU level, Deputy Collins, and something I would dearly like to secure, and I raise it and press for it regularly at EU Council level. It's not something Ireland has a national quota for, though. So in order to secure a quota for it, we would need to have the support of 2/3 of other member states to be able to get a slice of it. Obviously, that's a tall order, because you're dealing with one pie. And if you get if you start to get a percentage share of that pie, it means that others' share of the pie is somewhat diminishing. So as you can understand, any change in quota at European level is difficult, considering you need 2/3 of the member states to vote for you to have it. But listen, it's something I continue to pursue. But this year, as in any previous years, we don't have a national quota for bluefin tuna.
Okay. With the ban on pollock, wind farms and the looming MPAS, inshore fishermen are now in a dire situation. Have the government ever considered providing an annual scheme like in the agricultural sector towards the inshore sector?
So listen, I mean, we work, like with the common agricultural policy, we work within a common fisheries policy at European level too. So that has never featured as part of the common fisheries policy, Deputy Collins. I do look to see where I can support it, though, and did over the last couple of years through the business adjustment scheme. But it's not a feature of the common fisheries policy in the way that it is of the common agricultural policy. We are looking, though, now very shortly. We'll be confirming the new schemes under the European Maritime Fisheries Fund for the next 4 years, which is the equivalent of the CAP as such in terms of our national plan. And we'll be looking to see how we can provide supports for the inshore sector as part of that.
Okay, and the closure of the pollock fishery, we'll say, is a big blow to the inshore sector. And to add insult to injury, commercial fishermen who are now stopped from fishing pollock have to watch anglers take any amount they want. This proves the ban had little to do with conservation methods, Minister. So
listen, I mean, obviously the pollock it has been a real impact and a loss to the inshore sector in particular. The pollock fishery has been closed due to scientific advice to allow time to recover and strengthen again so that it doesn't get undermined. It has been closed right across all of areas 6 and 7, which basically is areas west of Scotland, down the Irish Sea, across the south of Ireland, across the north of France and Spain, and across the west coast of Ireland too, for all commercial fisheries. There can be recreational angling for pollock, which is available to anyone, but only for recreational angling, not for commercial sale.
Okay, and the final question is, BIM run a scheme for V-notching lobsters. Fishermen are waiting for this to open since February. We're halfway through the year, they are, and fishermen are still waiting. It's crazy the scheme doesn't run all year round to benefit the sustainability of lobster.
Yeah, so listen, because we're between the old MFAF has finished, and I plan to, and very shortly now, announce the schemes under the new European Maritime Fisheries Fund, including the V-notching, which has been a successful scheme in terms of conservation for the species, but also in terms of providing income. So that will form part of the new MFAF, Deputy Collins, and I expect to announce that very shortly now.
And can the scheme run all year round when you announce it?
It runs on an ongoing multi-annual basis once it's launched. It's the fact that we're between two schemes at the moment that we're now in a position looking to restart it again.
Okay, thank you, Minister.